Hi, I'm Jennifer McKenzie, professional home economist and cookbook author, and we are making apple herb stuffing today. So this is for our Thanksgiving 101, and you might want to call it dressing, and we're actually not stuffing it into the turkey this time. We roasted turkey pieces because we're going to have a bit of a smaller gathering, and there's not really a lot of room for stuffing in some of the turkeys anyway. So I always like to make it in a baking dish on the side, and it gets those nice crispy bits on the outside. So one of the things about stuffing, if you're having a collaborative dinner and you're assigning different dishes to different people, the stuffing is really super easy. So if somebody can chop vegetables and saute vegetables, they are capable of making this stuffing. So I've got some onion. This is an all Ontario ingredient. We're being very thankful this Ontario Agriculture Week for all the wonderful food that's produced here, and thanks to also the people that are supporting the farmers, because we all need to do our part. They grow the food for us, and we purchase it and use it in our kitchens, and it's a great relationship. So for Ontario Agriculture Week, we're doing Thanksgiving 101, and so turkey, stuffing, gravy. I'm slicing up some celery, just chopping it here. I've got onions in the pan, sauteing in some butter, and this stuffing gets a lot of fresh herbs. I've got them in my garden. If you don't have them in your garden, don't worry, you can buy them because our farmers grow them for us. And the other thing is you can use dried. So I'm actually using a combination of dried and fresh in this recipe. So saute the celery and the onion just for a couple of minutes. You want them to soften. If you don't soften your vegetables and you put them in the stuffing, it actually tastes sort of raw, and it's not very pleasant. So do take the time to saute everything ahead of time. So I've got some wonderful fresh sage here. And the great thing about this one, you can change up the herbs. So I've got a bit of celery seed, so I'm going to add some celery seed and some savory. If you don't have savory, don't worry about it, but it does add that sort of really very traditional Thanksgiving taste. And I've got some fresh rosemary. Again, these are from my garden, but buy them if you want. And if you don't have the fresh, a third of the amount works quite well with the dry. And you put them in early, so I put the sauteed vegetables and the dried herbs in to start, and then you put the fresh herbs in a little bit later. So I've got a bit of rosemary. It's so fragrant, and rosemary is quite strong, so you don't need a ton of it. I'm saving all of my stems though, because stems and trimmings, we actually put those in our turkey stock. So after you've roasted your turkey, save all of the scraps and make up your own turkey stock, and it makes the best soup. And we just pop it in the freezer if you're not going to make soup right away. And one of the amazing things about supporting our Ontario farmers is so much more environmentally friendly, of course. And we are so lucky to have wonderful Ontario apples. And there are over 15 varieties grown in Ontario, and they're available almost all year around because they have amazing storage now. And one of the exciting things is the Honeycrisps just came off the trees. So I'm using Honeycrisp in this stuffing today. I've got one chopped up. These are Cortlands, these are Macintosh. Any of those would work. Any cooking variety that will keep its flavor when it's cooked. Some of them kind of get bland when they're cooked, and they're better for eating fresh. I love using apples in savory things and sweet things, of course, and they really add sort of a nice sweet and tangy different taste to your stuffing. So leave the peel on. It looks pretty, needless to say, but also you get extra added fiber, and I eat apples every single day, and they really are nutritious and low in calories, high in fiber, and there's no excuses not to eat them. And you're supporting your local farmers. So we're chopping up 2 apples, and they just get a little bit sauteed with the vegetables. You don't have to cook them all the way down because they will continue to cook in the oven. And how's that smelling? It's smelling so good. Now this is definitely, you want something made ahead because you want to pop it into the oven roasted alongside your turkey. So if your turkey is roasting at 325, put your stuffing in at 325. That's for a whole turkey. If you're roasting turkey pieces and it's at 375, you can put the stuffing in at that temperature too. So I've got that nice and sauteed, adding my apple. And the fresh herbs, I'll continue chopping those apples, get the rest of those in, or you might want to eat the rest. But it's always hard to resist when you're chopping up for a recipe, not to eat a few pieces. But chop those apples, saute that up, and then you've got your cubed day-old bread. Now, day-old, you can have it a couple of days old, but the reason for that is a firmer, drier bread that's not just fresh baked. When it's fresh baked, it's pretty hard to cube, and it gets a bit squishy. So you want it a little bit drier and firmer, and I like to buy a dense loaf for my stuffing because you get sort of a better texture. It doesn't just kind of all deflate when you add the moisture. So I've cubed up my bread, nice chunky cubes. If you cube it too small, it kind of almost goes mushy when you mix it all together. So leave the chunks nice and big. This is something kids can help with. Any kids that are at the stage where they're using knives, cutting bread is a nice gentle way to get them to help. And saute this up. Get somebody slicing the bread. And like I said, this is the easy recipe for anybody to contribute to your dinner. And this recipe does make a fair amount because I love stuffing and I love leftover stuffing. So I like to plan it over, but you could make a smaller batch. We've got the recipes online. We are definitely eager to see what you're cooking up for Ontario Agriculture Week. So make sure you use the hashtags LoveAuntFood or Aunt Ag Week and check those hashtags out to see what everybody else in Ontario is cooking as well. So get that sauteed up. Like I said, the apples just need to be a little bit softened. And then I'm stirring in the bread. So you're going to see this is going to get a little overloaded and it won't all fit in my pan. But that's okay because I am going to toss it. And then you add a bit of the stock. So we've got some turkey stock that we made ahead. If you don't have turkey stock, you can use any stock that you have, vegetable stock or chicken stock. And moisten it. One of the catches with the stuffing is you don't want it too moist and soggy, but you do want it moist enough that it doesn't go too dry and crispy. So you just kind of want to add enough till it holds together. And there we go. And our timer is telling us it's done. And stir that together until it clumps together. And I'm actually going to put it all in the big bowl. One of the things, you can hold some of this bread back, because if you've decided that you cut too much bread, you can hold some of the bread back and then just add more bread if you need it. But I'm going to try and squeeze all this into my baking dish and pack it in somewhat. The fragrance is wonderful, and moisten a little more and just until it sort of looks like it's going to pack together, and then pack it into your baking dish. Now, I've got my baking dish well buttered, and that makes that wonderful brown texture on the outside. Pack it in. One of the other fun things to do is to use a muffin pan. So you can use buttered muffin pan, and then you get lots of the crispy bits, and you can make little individual stuffings. That's also something nice if you're making some food to give away. So one of the things we like to do is, share dinners with somebody that maybe wouldn't make their own, and so you can make portions for them. Another way to give back this year is to donate to your food bank. So donate gift cards or food ahead of time, and support the locals. We support our local farmers, and the local farmers in turn support us. And there's your stuffing. Like I said, you can chill that down, pop it in the fridge, and then put it in the oven for about an hour, and alongside your turkey, and it'll bake up to nice and crisp.